Good morning, nerds. It is American Thanksgiving, and so I'm just sitting here mostly glad to be off work, but also contemplating how shitty my ancestors were. So that's always a thing. But mostly I'm glad to be off work and that I get to eat some pumpkin pie later. And the food that I'm going to is not my food, so it's not going to be my favorite. It's like somebody else's food, you know what I mean? When you go to somebody else's house and have their Thanksgiving food, it's like, it's not the same. But anyway, I was tagged in a video a week, 2 weeks ago, time means nothing, by the Eerie Fairy Tale. So this is my first official, I've done book tags before just because I wanted to do them, but I've never been tagged before. So thank you so much for tagging me. And this is a good tag. So this is 3 books that destroyed me and 3 books that revived me. And I figured Thanksgiving was a good enough day to do that tag because I'm thankful for books. Cheesy. The reason I read books and the reason you all probably read books is because you want to like sink into a story and experience emotions and experience whatever you want to experience. I'm sure the things that some of you want to experience are very different than the things that I want to experience. But here, without further ado, we're going to see if I can get through this in under 15 minutes. So 3 books that destroyed me. Let's do that first. So first up, ABHORSEN by Garth Nix. So this is the 3rd book in the ABHORSEN trilogy, which is I guess technically it's middle grade, but it's kind of one of those books that veers from middle grade all the way up through adult in terms of thematics. I think it's an all ages book. I love this trilogy. I found it by accident when I was in high school, in the high school library, and devoured it. And my favorite book of the trilogy is actually Xiran, which is the 2nd book. But this book I've chosen because I was trying to think of books where I've just like ended it crying because of whatever reason. And the last time I read this series, I never had this reaction when I was younger. And I think it's because I'm an adult now and I have since realized mostly my mortality, and books that feature death as a theme always get me. And this is a book about a family of necromancers who literally go into death and keep the dead from coming back into the world of the living to harm them. And like literally, like the evil characters they don't want to die. So it's literally a book series about accepting death. Plus there's a character that dies in the end of this, and it just destroyed me. This book destroyed me because of the sequence when Xiran has to go into death for the final time, at least the final time in the series, and what happens there. So excellent fantasy series if you are looking for something a little bit darker thematically. And it's a good time, but also it did destroy me. So at least the last time that I read it, I'm actually due for a reread soon. So we'll see. I do need better editions than this. I have these mass markets, and I'm kind of kicking myself because Illumicrate did special editions for the first 2 books, and I did not buy them, and I think they might be sold out, or at least the first one sold. I don't know. I'll try because I do love this series a lot. So that's book number 1 of Destruction, ABHORSEN. Number 2. So this is a similar kind of destruction, although a little bit more personal. It also deals with themes of grief and acceptance of death and getting older and maturing and accepting the things that come with that. So we're sensing a theme here, and that is Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. This is the first book in the Tawny Man trilogy that is set in her Realms of the Elderlings world. You could read this book as an entry point if you wanted to, although I really do not recommend that. If this is, at the end of this, something that you're interested in, I really recommend that you start with book 1 in the overall Realms of the Elderlings, which is Assassin's Apprentice. Because this book, every other series that she writes follows Fitz, who is the main character. He's the first-person narrator of these books, and we follow him from the age of 5 up until he's an old man across 3 different series. Wait, 3? 1, 2, yeah, 3 different series. There's 5 series in the overall Realms of the Elderlings for now. I think she's working on a new one, but every other one follows Fitz. And the reason this hit me so hard is because I did grow, I followed him from when he was a little kid until this book takes place when he's 35, I think. So there's definite, you see him change, you see him grow, you see him get older, you see him start to lose people, you see him start to reckon with the consequences of his actions. You see him regret. All of those things are things that destroy me. And in addition, a main theme of this book is that Fitz, who I'm not really going to go into the plot because it's well, a brief summary. Fitz is the bastard son of the king, and he is dropped off at Buckkeep, which is his father's castle. He's the prince in waiting. Sorry, he's not the son of the king. He's the son of the prince in waiting. He's the heir. And as soon as he's dropped off at this castle, the prince, he essentially abdicates his throne in shame because it's not okay for, I guess in this world, like, kings who have byblows are shamed by it, unlike in the real world when they're just frittering around everywhere. Or at least, like 500 years ago they were, or whatever. So yeah, he shows up, and he's raised by Burrich, the stable keeper, and he's also, when he gets a little bit older, grabbed by another farseer, which is the name of the family, relative, to train to become an assassin. And because he's a higher born person, he has the ability to go where a lot of people can't, but he's also not really important. So he's a perfect tool. Anyway, that's the first trilogy. But this one takes place starting when he's 35, and he's been out of the royal court for decades at this point. And he also has an animal companion. So he's got the wit, which is a magic that allows people to bond with animals. And it's really like forbidden magic. So we saw him bond with his wolf, Night Eyes, in the first trilogy. And he's been with him for almost 20 years. And so a big part of this book is that Night Eyes is getting old. And you see him get old. Like in the book, like he can't do the things that he used to do. He's not sick or anything, but he's old. And so like the whole book, you're just like, oh God, this wolf is gonna die. and you just know it, and you're just waiting for it to happen. I really don't think that's a spoiler, because like right from the first chapter, it's like a central concern that Fitz has about his wolf, who's basically his best friend. So, as you can imagine, I mean, that the wolf alone would have maybe got this book on the list, but there's other things that he's dealing with and having to accept and having to move past that really made this such a rich emotional experience that I was just like moved to tears at the end. So actually 2 or 3 points at the end. And then even when I wasn't crying, I was just feeling this like welling up of emotion that was uncontrollable. So that's Fool's Errand by Robin Hobb. This is actually, I think, my favorite of her books that I've read. It's not the most consequential. It doesn't have the most action, but that rich emotion that is just this book is full of makes it like just such a great reading experience for me. That is book number 2 that destroyed me, Fool's Errand. And the third book that destroyed me, Cersei by Madeline Miller. So this book, actually, I think we're all saying her name wrong, by the way. I think in Greek, there is no s sound with a C. I think it's with a K. So I think her name is Kirky, something like that. So, I could be wrong, but I'm just going to say Cersei, though, because it's easier. And it sounds less stupid because nobody else says it the other way. But this book, so Madeline Miller is just a wordsmith. She is just a consummate storyteller. I don't love Song of Achilles the way other people love Song of Achilles, but even with that book, the characters became so real. Like at our book club meeting, because I picked it for our book club, my in real life book club, when I was trying to explain why I liked the ending so much, I just started crying. But the actual experience, I didn't cry while reading that book, just while trying to talk about it. This one, I wanted to make sure and mention because this destroyed me in a different way than the other two. So this is also surrounding themes of mortality, because Cersei is a goddess, but she has a human voice, and she has lots of dealings with mortals. And I don't want to say spoilers in case you somehow haven't read this yet. Why you haven't read this, I don't know. Everyone should read this. Even people who don't normally like mythology retellings or fantasy should read this, just because. And if you don't like it, fine. Just don't come back here and tell me, but you should give it a shot because I love it, and maybe you'll love it too. So anyway, this deals with lots of themes of mortality and what it means to be alive and what it means to be human. And as a goddess, Cersei has a very unique viewpoint on that, and she's sort of like a liminal goddess because she's in between mortality and immortality in a lot of ways. And the way this book ended, it was like one of those bittersweet moments of narrative perfection that rarely occur. It's almost serendipitous. Like, I feel like Madeline Miller, this story just happened to her. She didn't do it on purpose. There's like, it's just one of those things. It just feels like it was always meant to be. I literally put this book down and just burst into tears. And I remember walking around my apartment just crying for like 20 minutes. Just like, not sure where to put my feelings. So, but I mean, it's not an unhappy ending. This book has a really great ending, but it's also tied up with the mortality. Like, there's a good side of mortality, and then there's the bad side. So that's always there in the background, but it really does have like just a really great ending that just tied itself. I mean, just the perfection of it. I just burst into tears. So this is book number 3 that destroyed me. I did want to mention, I forgot to mention my intro. I'm wearing my Scully It's Me shirt because of Thanksgiving. Because for whatever reason, I really associate Thanksgiving with the X-Files. If you guys haven't watched the X-Files, you should watch the X-Files. But when I was younger, they used to have, when I was first getting into the show, so I think this was like 98, they used to play X-Files marathons all day on Thanksgiving. So I just have these really fond memories of like smelling Thanksgiving food cooking while Beyond the Sea played, which is the episode where Scully's father dies and Wormtail from Lord of the Rings is a convicted serial killer, and he's like got his hooks in Scully. Like, I have such fond memories of that. But like that whole, they would just play it all day long. So anyway, that's why I'm wearing this sweatshirt. Speaking of things that revive me, I love the X-Files. Here's the 3 books after I've been destroyed. These are the books that revive me. So first, let's talk about Think of England by K.J. Charles. This is a book. It is a self-published historical romance set in the early 1900s. So it's not an often used time period. It's like the late Victorian, almost, is it Georgian? I can't remember the next period, romance. And it's about a country house party. The main character, whose name is Captain Archie Curtis, he goes by Curtis, he is attending this house party. He is a veteran of the Boer War. His unit was involved in like this friendly fire accidental malfunction of equipment, and he was discharged honorably because he's now disabled. I forget what happened to him. I think it may be his hand or maybe it's his leg. I can't remember for sure. That is very seriously injured. And so he can no longer be in the military. And he's also just like a very sweet man, but he's kind of lonely. And so he goes to this house party, and then there he meets this Jewish poet, and I think he's Spain? Whatever. I think he's from Spain, and he's Jewish, and he's very effeminate, and he's very unashamed of that, and he's clearly gay. So, but everyone invites him to their parties despite him representing like outliers of society that normally wouldn't be accepted at this kind of thing, because he's very amusing and he's a famous poet. So these two meet and they don't really get along at first. And then they both, I forget why he's there. I think is he being blackmailed and that's why he goes to the party, or is he blackmailed when he gets to the party? I can't remember. Blackmail stuff happens. It's the middle of the night. They're both like in the library skulking around, and they decide to team up together to investigate the owners of this house because they're clearly involved in something nefarious. And like the way that they interact with each other is just so comforting to me. And like there's this scene that I've read this book so many times, you guys. I just pull it off the shelf when I read it. Sometimes I just pull it off the shelf and read the scene. But the scene where the title is said, fire emojis. Like they have to, in order to cover up their espionage crimes, they engage in other acts that could be considered criminal and blackworthy. Because there's like this hidden door situation and they're being spied upon in a private situation, if you know what I mean. Anyway, it's just so sweet, and they end up like their relationship dynamic is so good. Like they provide ballast for each other in different ways, and I just love it so much. I don't know how to talk about it. I don't. Lots of class issues explored in here, race, stuff about war. I mean, just all that stuff is good, but like the central relationship, it's so good. I can't even. If you like queer romance or romance in general or historical stuff, this book. Okay, second book. Also, actually all of these are queer. Okay, this is Make You Mine This Christmas. Now, I want you guys to listen to me here because this book is criminally underread and criminally underrated. Like, I feel like, well, no, it's not really underrated because people who have read it love it. If you go to Goodreads, it's got a really high rating. But this is a romance. There have been several of these now, and this is the best one, where there's a fake dating situation between a guy and a girl. And in this case, it's, what's her name? Half. So Half is alone at Christmas, and she meets this dude at a party, and they really strike it off and make up, hit it off like a friendship. And I don't remember the exact specifics. I'm rereading this in December, so I'll remember by then, but that'll be too late. Anyway, they end up fake dating. So she goes home with him. She's like, hey, it'll be fun. My parents are away. I don't have anyone to be with at Christmas. I'll just go to this dude's house at Christmas and help him out. And while she's there, she actually falls in love with his sister. So I read Alison Cochran's version of this story, and I thought it was really inferior to this. And there's another book coming out this year that is being published with the same premise of like a girl and a guy fake dating, and then the girl falls for the sister of the guy. This is the best one. They already made the best one, okay? So you can't really tell from this cover, although this is really cute. This is really cute. And I love that they made her fat because she's chubby in the book and proud of it. This book is so funny. I wish I would have gone through, but I was like, I'm trying to make this video before I have to leave to go to my Thanksgiving lunch. Like, honest to God, like, I have never highlighted so many quotes in a Kindle before. Ever. I got this afterwards as a present from my friend Katie because she saw how much I loved it, and she actually got this book in a subscription box. This is the Illumicrate Afterlight version, which I am not subscribed to because it's too much money for a lot of books that I probably will never read. I'm picky with my romances, but she bought me this like off Pengo or something, and I'm so happy that I have it because I love it. Anyway, it's so funny. I feel like you guys don't believe me. Hold on one second. Let me see if I can pull up some quotes on my computer just to give you a taste of the humor. By the way, I do like the original cover better. And actually, now they've recovered it, but I still like the original cover better. Okay, I'm gonna read these out of like context, so sorry. But it should give you an idea of the sort of humor that we're working with here. Sorry, I wish I had a British accent also, because they're British. Do you need me to ring the customer service people and frighten them into giving you a refund? I love doing that. Ambrose says that Half's taste in men can be summarized as guys who might live like raccoons and are a bit grubby hot, like Robert Pattinson now, or anyone from the Italian band that won Eurovision a few years ago. The women she found attractive couldn't be more different though. Suited, secretly dorky, and possibly about to organize a heist. That's so cute. Can you not hear it? Hear what? The comfortable sound of inherited wealth, Christopher. That was Half talking. A bit of fresh air never hurt anyone. Tell that to all the dead people on Everest. Do you not get a lot of that in architecture? I'd have thought you'd all be jizzing yourself over bricks or something. Kit snorts with laughter. Jizzing ourselves? Yeah, you know, ooh, that's a lovely bit of wall. Look at that light. This one just sums up Half very well. We put so much effort into it, and I tanked it by being a horny goblin. Okay, so I feel like I did not do any justice at all to the book, but just trust me, it's funny. This brings light and joy to my soul, and I feel like if more people gave it a shot, it would also do that for them. So please read this book. And the last book, also a bit of an outlier in that it's not like pure joys, happiness, comfy reads. This is more of a like, the rage inside of this character gives me life. And that is Iron Widow. So this is a book, it takes place, it's a fantasy book, fantasy sci-fi. And it takes place in like a historical-ish time period. And it's inspired by a real life, I believe, Chinese queen, I think. Obviously with science fiction and fantasy elements thrown in. Because the main plot here is that these alien beings have come to Earth, and this society has found that they can take the husks of these beings, they call chrysalises, and basically turn them into mechs. And if you're not familiar with mechs, this is a mech. It's like a big giant robot, but these aren't robots, they're like organic. And in this world, they've discovered that there needs to be a pilot and there needs to be a, what do they call them? I don't remember what they're called. I need to reread this book. Basically, it's like a co-pilot, but the only reason the women are there is because the men can draw strength from their chi. And basically, unless you're really strong, it kills the women almost every time to be a co-pilot for these male pilots of these chrysalises. And so the main character, Zetian, her sister is killed by an ace pilot, and she decides that she's gonna up and she's gonna go in there and she's gonna kill him. And she's basically going in, it's like a suicide mission, because she knows that she's not gonna make it out. Like these people are like lauded in society. There's like a reality TV culture around them. It's like they're famous. They're celebrities, these people. So she goes in there and she gets chosen to be his concubine. Did they call them concubines? I can't remember. And she gets in the mech with him, but she turns out to be a rare thing called an Iron Widow, whose chi is so strong it overpowers the male, and she kills him. And honestly, like, just the moment she steps out of that mech to show the world that she killed this dude with the strength of her soul, and what does she say? Let's see if I can find it. Okay, so here's what she says when she steps out. Oh God. Some people really didn't like this, but I'm living for it. I love her so much and I support all of her life choices. She steps out and everyone's realizing that the dude is dead and it was her piloting this mech in this battle. And she goes, "You've been living a dream for long enough." I yell at the cameras between bursts of maniacal laughter, raising my arms. "Welcome to your nightmare." Sorry. You guys might not think that's as good as I do, but I could just picture this like maniacal, like teenage girl, like 17 or 18 years old, and she's like just killed a dude, and she's like, "I'm gonna get you guys." And I'm just like, I don't know how to explain it, but it fills me with this sort of like evil joy. And then the whole book is great. I mean, I highly recommend this anyway, because Xiran Zhao, their answer to a love triangle is just to connect the dots, you know? So there's just this beautiful triangle of love and appreciation and queerness between these two dudes and this woman, and it's so great, and I'm so excited for the second book that's finally being released in 2024. I guess I just found this out, by the way, for those of you who have read this and were wondering why it was pushed back from August of last year to next year, and it's because the publisher did not give them enough of an advance to be able to prioritize this book. There were other projects they needed to work on to be able to afford to live, because even though this book was a bestseller and really popular and critically acclaimed, the second book wasn't worthy of enough of an advance for Xiran to live, you know, and to like eat and pay bills and stuff. So they prioritized other projects, and the soonest they could get this out was 2024. So I support them in all their endeavors because they're so funny. If you follow their Instagram and they have a YouTube, I love them. I love them. I will buy every single one of their books. That is my final book that has revived me, Iron Widow. Those are my books. That was my first official book tag. Now, I do not have anyone to tag, so, because I'm a baby booktuber. Actually, for those of you who don't know, which is probably most of you, I have been making videos officially since March of 2022, but I was only making them for my friends. So every video before July of this year was private, and only select people who have the link can view it. So I have been making videos, but I just have not been making YouTube friends, and I have not been public. So consider yourself tagged if you want to do this video, and thank you so much to the Airy Fairy Tales for tagging me. I really appreciated it. I had fun making this list, and I hope you guys got some good book recommendations out of it. And happy Thanksgiving / happy excuse to eat a lot of food and think contemplatively about the awful things white people have done to Native Americans. Okay, thanks. Love you. Bye. Oh, and please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you made it this far, leave me a turkey emoji. Or if there's pie or turkey, or both. Okay, bye.